morning, everyone. Let's go back on the live stream. Today is August 16th, 2021. And obviously, I struggled this morning. I'm late. 20 minutes late. Still gotta get work done though. Went ahead and got some water before the call and just about to get this done. So today I'm actually going to start the second year of backtesting UJ and get through that. But first we're going to go ahead and review the charts. Make sure this is sent out and it looks like what I want it to look like. Cool. Alright, so USDJPY, let's start here. USDJPY, our sales are playing out, and I already took partials at this level. I'm looking for price to just scale down a bit more. If price does hit targets, it's about a 6, 5, 11 to 1. It's about 11 hour opportunity. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, so yeah, just looking for price to hit targets now. SL is right here at this level, and that's pretty much it. If price breaks that level, looking for possibly one more correction or a decent channel to actually form in this area. But yeah, just waiting for some confirmation. Just waiting for the next pattern to tell us what to do. Right? That's pretty much all I do. I wait for the move to play out. Then I wait for a pattern to tell me what to look for, what the next move is, pretty much. Okay. Now I remember on the other calls when I had rain sounds in the background, and I just hated how it sounded, so I'm gonna turn that off. Okay, so that's your JPY. I'm gonna go ahead and send the update on this. Okay, gonna go ahead and send this out to Discord as an update. It hasn't I haven't changed anything on your JPY for about 2 weeks. So just as an update, and so we don't have to scroll all the way back up to your JPY. Just gonna reply to the messages up here. Archives. There we go. Archive. Okay, that's your JPY. Let's go to AUD/USD. AUD/USD, I have a sell up here. Even this area. Round it up as well. Okay. That is not my position. Oh, that was the other position. One of the first positions that I took on this. Let me just bring it up on MT4 again. All right, 74286, 74286. All right, awesome. And then targets. Cool. This is an amazing move. That's awesome. Okay, so look for price to break this low. If price breaks that low, gonna be looking for it to break this low, and if all that happens, I'll look for it to hit targets. Now, taking partials, let me see. Yep, taking partials at this level. I believe that is where I had my green horizontal ray last week. Price gets down to this level, I'll go ahead and take partials and then move my stops. Other than that, nothing to do on AUD/USD. It's the same thing. Like, I'll send out the update just so it's refreshed in the chat, but I'm not doing anything with this right now. Just still holding. Actually looks like I didn't send out an update on AUD/USD. I definitely talked about it on the calls, but on the live streams, but it looks like there's not a fresh update on it. Okay, pound dollar is next. Pound dollar, we're looking for a buy off this level. Got that buy. The only thing that I did last week was just close the sell once price got to this area, and we got an engulfing candle. I believe it was this one here off the 4 hour. That's when I decided to close the sell and said look for a buy that week as well. I decided not to take the buy. I just didn't like the potential there for it, so decided not to take it. Other than that, on GU, I mean, just gotta wait for breaks and corrections. I'd rather wait for it on the 1 hour time frame, because I personally perform the best on GU off the 1 hour time frame. So I like a solid setup here. And that was a decent setup. It's not the best because the trend line didn't break. Okay, next is gold. Gold, I'm looking at another buying opportunity. Trailing these stops, obviously, sells up here at this point, or would be up here at this point. We have a nice impulse here. We have a nice correction, and just looking for an area to buy at. Now, I like this area. Well, there are no rules, so we can define multiple levels. I like this zone, and I like another zone that's higher, but it's going to be on a lower time frame. It's not going to be on a lower time frame. Never mind, I can't take that. The formation I was looking for wasn't there. Alright, so here, price could dip below this trend line, and I like to see some buying pressure come in, burst the push up. That's pretty much it. Looking for price to get all the way up to where my targets are, and then I like to see some selling pressure come in there. Other than that, nothing on gold either, but this is a nice next setup here. For a possible 3-to-1, can we tighten that up at all? Yep, we can. 5-to-1. We'll do 5 to 4-to-1. SL is about in that area. And yeah, let's keep this here so we can see everything. Partials would have been taken at this high here. In here, that's a tough one. That's rough. Okay, let's go to US30. Okay, price made to a level, and we have some nice rejections here. This is good. So for this first position, let's say we set the stop order there and we got stopped out. Or not stop, but a limit order there and we got stopped out. Let's also say we're done with all these markups back here, so let's delete that so it's not just junk on our screen. There we go. Okay, so price is overshooting the trend line, but we have rejections here, and that's exactly what I want to see in this situation. How can we define the zone better? Is it perfect? It is perfect. That's what I like. Okay. Yep, and another opportunity to enter game. So this would be the entry area for this move. Fortunately, I'm just targeting that high. I'm not going any higher than that. That low is gonna just below the zone. Yeah, in that situation, that's what I would have to do. So just a 2-to-1. Wish it was way better than that, but that's what we got for now. Now price could go beyond the level that I'm targeting right now, which would be great. But there's no level for me to target above there other than based off the Fibonacci's. US30. Could have swore I actually sent out an update on US30. Or has it yeah, it's recently just been gold. That's the only thing, like, really any real action that's happened on US30. There were setups, but there weren't clean setups, so I didn't send them out. There weren't setups that I would take. Okay, I believe that's everything. Are there any requests? Yep, no requested pairs. So So before I get into backtesting, I do want to say I decided to just start keeping my blog posts on my Buy Me a Coffee site. Kind of like that, and it's way easier to upload things. I don't have to file through every single link to make it a link, and it's easier to embed these things. But if you don't know about the Buy Me a Coffee site, go down to the link below, right above my Discord channel. Actually, you can come here. There'll be more content. I actually have a lot more content that I want to send out here, and you can just like bookmark it, check it, or just click the link in every description. Also, you want to support the channel, you can buy me a book. I decided to change this to a book because that's pretty much what I do. I don't drink coffee, and I wanted to just make it more personalized. All right, so that's that. What else? Man. All right, let's close that out. Let's close this out, and it's time to start backtesting.
Answer questions at the end. Okay. I just find a lot of questions are that way, and plus my really simple brain just gets all hijacked often when my train of thought gets interrupted. It's not your doing. It's my simple brain. And other than that, I'm raring to go. I really wanted to talk with you today. So let's start here. Okay. Trading is an endeavor that requires the whole brain. The whole brain has to participate. both the emotional brain and the rational brain, the left brain and the right brain. Yet, what we've done is we've made an enemy out of the emotional brain. Okay? We want to conquer emotions, not use or master emotions. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at this. We're going to be looking at this and go, is that a very good idea? Okay. And how are we going to work with this? Okay. How are we going to say, how can I get all this reason from my left brain, from my thinking brain, and all this emotion that I've been trying to ignore and push away? How can I get them together? Okay. And build a very different kind of mind than the one you're currently using in trading. Understand, you're bringing a mind into trading that was designed, evolved for managing certainty, for managing and controlling outcome and controlling environment. And it just so happens that means nothing. As a matter of fact, it means less than nothing in trading. How are we going to do this, okay? Well, let's take a look at it. The first thing is, practically everybody comes into trading with a certain mindset about winning and being successful. And then we go and we put that prosperity type of thinking into play in trading. Okay? All that hard work, that persistency, that winning attitude, that force of will. Then all of a sudden, these are the assumptions, okay, that you're working for to say, what is it going to take to build a successful mind for trading? And you do all that, and then something happens. It's not working. It's not working according to your trading account. It's either bogged down or losing money. That cuts of 1,000, the bleeding of 1,000 different cuts, or the gashing of when you blow up accounts. And you look at it and you go, I am trying to use successful thinking. I am using this prosperity mindset. And you know something? It's not working. And by the way, it's never worked in trading. No matter what you've experienced before you come into trading, and this controlling outcome business, being alpha or being a perfectionist and not losing, not making mistakes, can be enormously successful in other domains. However, when put to the test in trading, that cash machine that you're looking at right there sucks up cash. We know that, but then you go, well, okay. People want to look for the answer, though, to what's missing, what's the problem. They look everywhere, and they don't look in the right place. They look in all the wrong places because they're convinced that the problem is out there. And if you take a look at this slide, what you're really looking at is really, if you take a look at trading, okay, as a three-legged stool. Each of those legs starts with the trading system, or can start with the trading system, where you get that platform, and darn, you need one. You really have to have a platform. If it's a funky system, you've got problems. If there's delays in it, you've got problems. Then you need a methodology. You need a way of being able to manage the risk, okay? Because ultimately what you are as a trader is you're a risk manager. Intellectually, you know there are going to be losses, and they have to be managed. But friends, that's where the problem starts. Your trader psychology, that's really your beliefs in action. That's all the beliefs that you're projecting onto the phenomenon called the markets. And you're getting feedback about their effectiveness through your trading account. And it will not lie to you. You can lie to yourself. I'm just around the corner. Success is right around the corner. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. But the trading account's not going to lie. It's going to tell you the cold truth. Ultimately, because of that bias, because we really don't want the problem to be inside out there, traders look truly for the solution in their methodologies and their platforms, and they don't look at my my psychology. What's the problem here? Maybe it's me. Only years later do they recognize that their psychology is the actual culprit. Okay? These three areas work together as a whole. And what happens is, it's just like today, it's really interesting, is a company and I were talking, and they're a trader training company, and they're going to start doing some interviews with me and stuff like that. And they said, you know, it's really interesting. We just don't do trader psychology stuff. It just doesn't seem to be, you know, it just doesn't seem to be a big thing that we're doing, but we'd like to explore it. Then I asked the question, well, tell me something. How many people in your audience, which, you know, they have like 100,000 people that they're working with, and how many of them are successful? And he said, well, really very few, but that's not what we really focus on. We teach them how to trade and how to do this and how to work with these things. And I said, well, are you teaching them how to trade, like methodology or trading system, or the psychology or the system? What I want you to see is that it's implicit over the entire industry. They leave out trader psychology, yet top level for performers in all domains, from, you know, from tennis to golf and stuff like that, where literally people are working at the peak level of their performance. They all have psychologists working with them because they know it's about beliefs and action. So what I want you to do is start noticing that one of the things missing here is that I need to be examining my beliefs and action. Because my promise to you is having knowledge of trading, having a great platform, and a reliable methodology is useless without molding your psychology of performance to meet the needs of managing the uncertainty found in trading. How many people in here have actually said, you know something, okay, what I actually know is that I need to be able to rebuild my psychology to work with probability, because what happens, there's going to be a lot of losses, even though I proclaim that I'm a winner and I don't want to lose. But what happens, I need to make a correction. Otherwise, things are going to keep flying out of things are going to keep going wrong. Okay? So we get this, and despite their results, okay, they remain convinced that their current success strategies will work if only they find the secret. And that's what I want you to hear, is that, what is this secret that everybody's saying, oh, the secret of great trading, the secret of this, the secret of making, 30% return this month, the secret. What I'm asking, are you still falling for those sucker lines? What I'm asking you to recognize is the secret is you. The secret is, are you willing to rebuild a mind that performs well, embraces uncertainty, embraces probability, or does that mind cringe at the thought of losing and not winning? That's the big deal. You know, the problem starts with a brain that evolved with the modus operandi to control outcome and environment. It's a survival value that got really wired into us. This evolved into what we know as survival instincts, and they're at play all the time when you trade. This is the domain of the emotional brain, and that's already been declared the enemy by your rational brain. Do you see this problem that's going on? The rational brain wants to be right, okay? And what happens is it takes probability, it sees the probability, and it finds itself wrong, and suddenly the emotional brain is seeing that as a threat to being, and all of a sudden it gets hijacked. But on top of that, a psychology develops that produces a fear of losing and a need to win, okay? Which are the uncontrollable variables in trading. Who in here, despite what beliefs they have, can say, I am going to win, I'm going to make this happen, and actually have it happen? That doesn't last long. That dog doesn't hunt, okay? But what does? So ultimately, we've got this glitch, okay? And until we learn to work with that survival brain, work with that caveman brain, work with that emotional brain, we're going to continually be hijacked by it, okay? Because ultimately, all this glorified rational thinking that we think we're doing, all that left brain is really doing is it's producing an alibi, an explanation for what the emotional brain has already decided. That emotional brain has decided something, particularly around threat, in nanoseconds. The rational mind is about a half a second late to the show. And that is a lifetime, friends. That's a hijacking. That's absolutely freezing and not knowing what to do. That's having wild, crazy thoughts. That's over trading. That's revenge trading. That's freezing. Okay? That's what happens there. Meanwhile, you and nearly everyone else has declared emotions the enemy. The instinctual mind is always seeing the potential of losing as a threat and triggers emotional hijackings at almost all the wrong times. This is what we have to learn how to manage. And until you learn how to manage this, is that the knowledge really is irrelevant, because you'll have the knowledge, but it's not usable when you need it. When you're in the flux of uncertainty and everything's probability, and the truth is that it's ambiguous. You don't know. There is a set of rules, but should I bend them? Should I do this? Should I do that? That's the kind of thinking right there that's dangerous. So, in doing this, until you retrain this thing, okay? Until you retrain this this other brain of yours, this is what's going to happen. It's going to continue hijacking the trading brain. And that's what's probably happening if you're a regular trader, and I'm talking about, you could be a proprietary trader, you could be an institutional trader, you could be in a trading firm, you could be a retail trader, it really doesn't matter. You could be an active investor, you could be a portfolio manager. Ultimately, what happens is that all of us, because we have an animal nature, we are, understand, less than 0.2% separates us from chimpanzees. We have a lot in common with those guys. And what you discover is that you start going down there and you discover this emotional brain has enormous influence. And the question is, how do you go about managing it so that you are rational and patient and cool in times of stress of where you don't know what the outcome is going to be, which is required in successful trading. So, but just before we leave all this stuff, I want to really go into this. This is a famous photograph where, I mean, this kid's what, 18 months to 24 months? And he already has that tough guy, that success mind. Controlling primal program fear is the answer. And, you know, you go, just do it. Like this guy, I'm just going to tough up on it, okay? Or you're just going to be a wuss. You've got to be strong. You've got to be a winner. Nothing else is acceptable. You've got to conquer your fears rather than master your fears. Take no prisoners. Ultimately, what I'm asking you to take a look at is take a look at the trader psychology that you're bringing to this game. Is it working? And I'm not asking you to make a value judgment about, well, I think it's, you know, yeah, I think it's working. I'm just aware, you know, I've only been trading 5 years and I've only canned, I don't know how much money, but I can see how it works and I'm going to finally get there. What I'm asking you to do is recognize, oh, that's a rational brain totally out of whack. It's making an alibi for the emotional brain not wanting to accept that it's wrong. It wants to control outcome. What I'm asking you to do is look at the trading account and say, wow, what's my trading account telling me? And maybe, just maybe, the success formula, the success mind that I've basically been sucked into, I kind of accept, maybe I need to re-examine that, not in the past, because you may have used that success mind incredibly well in business or, or in corporate life. What I'm asking is for you to recognize that the conditions of success in business and the conditions for success in trading are very, very different. There is no control over outcome in trading, and there is in business. At least it appears that way in the short term. Okay? So this is where it really gets in. Our addiction to being a winner and not being a loser is brought into trading, where this force of will is a way of controlling outcome. And emotion is not only useless, it's dangerous. This is what we bring in there. And all of a sudden we get into this circle of like, okay, there is this, I've got to do it. I have access. I'm going to achieve. I get this access. I get revved up. I'm activating all this stuff. I've got this winner's mind, and I'm going, and I accelerate that, and I'm going to make something happen. Just don't sit there. Do something. A fatal formula for trading. Do something. Most of trading is patience. So in this winner state of mind, where losing is bad, okay? What happens is that it keeps making you just absolutely slam into the wall over and over and over again. Now, you get traumatized, and the anxiety and self-doubt start crawling into your performance mind. You keep doing it. It's kind of like what Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting something different. No, transform the mind that's engaging it, okay? This is what we want to do. We know, and this is the big deal that I'm asking you, your mind, your brain is basically archetypally set to be in control of environment and outcome. It's that way. It's always been that way, and that primitive brain's not going to change. Yet in trading, it's a patient, disciplined mind that's needed. And until you make that paradigm shift from those two, success is going to evade you on a level that is possible in trading. So ultimately, the beliefs that form you as a trader psychologically simply are not working. Controlling outcome and probability management is at the core of the problem. Okay, that's the deal. And of course, though, looking at this thing, if you first fail, try again. But of course, you're not going to listen to that, because what happens is that as the brain ages, it doesn't like to change anymore. When you're young, the brain is still learning how to do things, and it's really open to organization. As you get a little older, what happens is it doesn't want to change unless it's slammed into the dirt. That's what I would call, burning up capital, okay? You try harder and harder to be a winner, and all this to avoid the real need to adapt your beliefs from wherever you brought them to this world of probability and uncertainty. This is the big deal. Okay, this is the deal that we have to learn how to do. And actually, what I'll say is, what does this actually look like in trading? Okay, let's take a look at this thing. Is there anybody? Let me ask a question. So far, is anybody getting this? Are you beginning to see that, something? It's not my fault. I brought a brain to trading that just simply, it's out of its league. It's in a different world, and it has to be reorganized. Does it make sense to you? Let's take a peek at it and see what happens in our instinctual mind and our psychology when you're not willing to adapt your beliefs about managing uncertainty, okay? Let's see this, and let's say, let's look at revenge trading, okay? You're set up with a belief, and what happens is you have this winning idea, and that you're going to conquer everything, and ultimately what happens, you get into a trade, you lose, and you go, well, okay. And then you lose again, you start going, I'm getting a little pissed off, and then before you know it, you lose, and then all of a sudden you get angry. You're going to get back at the markets. Do you see the activation of the fight-flight response here. The psychology and the biology figured it's being threatened, okay? And threat on a biological level, not on a discomfort psychological level, but on a biological level. You get angry and then you start wanting to take back. Let's take impulse trading or overtrading. Overtrading is a form of impulse trading. You're sitting there and you go, you know, I want to be at the core of it. You've got this thing of, I want to be a winner. I want to be a winner. And man, I'm going to make some money. I need to be making some money. You know, I'm going to do that. And I want to win. I want to win. Okay. And you start getting all cranked up, probably listen to some Tony Robbins tapes, and you've gotten yourself all cranked up. You're ready to go. You're ready to take advantage of everything. You start seeing setups, and they start getting there, and you start looking at them going, yeah, there's a good one. And you start going, okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that one. And after the carnage is over, you go, you know something? I had to bend my rules in order to make that an acceptable trade to take. Okay? It really wasn't the setup that my rules told me. But what you see is that the emotional brain got all ramped up, and the rational brain started making alibis for what the emotional brain had already decided. This is what I want you to see, okay? And then what's worse, okay, is this. This is what happens, and particularly for you folks who start having anxiety before you actually enter into your trade room, and you start having kind of a sense of dread, and you have this foreboding. What happens is usually that's a product of your doing something over and over and over and over again, expecting a different result, but getting slammed, getting pinched, bam, bam, bam. What happens is your emotional brain, your amygdala in particular, has decided, you know something? When I see that type of situation arise, I'm just going to go ahead and kick the anxiety. I'm going to emotionally hijack him before he can do something stupid. So now you've gotten trauma memory involved, and you've gotten hypervigilance of the amygdala, or what I call the orphan, involved, and it's really, then the psychology is really whacked out, and you're having real serious trouble. Okay? So we've seen the bad news. Okay, let's take a look at the good news. Let me ask you a question here. Who in here would really be willing to go through the effort of changing their trader psychology to become a success in trading? You know, would you really be willing to do it? Would you be willing to look at the beliefs that you're projecting? Would you be willing to look at what you don't want to see about yourself? Okay? Who in here recognizes that the obstacle in their trading performance is in fact them? Okay? It's not a new gadget. It's not a new teacher. It's not a new platform. It's not a new methodology. It's them. Third thing, you know, this resistance to change is both biological and psychological. Without the evolved probability mind, though, you're going to lose out on the one thing that you can control in trading. You. The mind that you bring into the performance of trading. That, friends, that's the Holy Grail. That's the piece that, fortunately, with emotional intelligence, it can be learned. You can actually learn to build that mind, just like the scaffolding, just like the mind here in this image. You can actually build that mind. Does it take effort? Yeah, but no more effort than all the work that you've put into trading thus far. Just imagine putting in a little more effort in being able to develop the mind that can use all those great tools and knowledge that you have. That would be powerful. So then we actually come to the moment. Here's how, okay? You're going to be shown how I can teach you to redevelop your mind for trading. The goal is patient discipline, okay? But how do you develop it? And by the way, it's really interesting. I work with a physicist, an Italian who lives in Barcelona. And what he did is he said, he says, Randy, when I read your book, I read the theory of what you do. And I was really impressed because you've really been able to see how brain, biology, emotion, and mind work together to create a self that trades. He said, I've never seen that before. But now that I'm taking your course, what I recognize is that, oh my God, now I'm learning theory in action. Okay? The same thing is here. What you're basically doing is you're looking at theory. We don't necessarily see the theory in action. Right now, we're just looking at it and going, well, how do you do this? I have a particular model that I like to use for the trading mind, and I like to use the American cougar, the North American cougar. Very interestingly, is the American cougar is a good size cat, and it's 200 plus pounds. It is an apex predator, and it is a very successful predator. Okay, and people often think, well, yeah, it probably stalks and attacks. No, it doesn't. The way it is an ambush predator, what it does is it will climb a tree like the one you see here, or it will climb a rock and sit and wait very patiently, because the cougar has learned the habits of the deer and knows where the deer cross. In the same way that you know the setup, what a good setup is. You see the patterns, same way the cougar's seeing the patterns, and you're waiting on that pattern to come to a moment for ambush, for action. And then when he takes action, it's bam, it's out of nowhere. Okay? And if he misses the kill, and by the way, he does not kill by fighting and stuff like that. He kills by hitting the deer in the head, the neck, with his paw and snapping his neck. The deer drops. There's none of this chase. There's none of this fight that goes along. He's not a revenge trader. If the deer gets away, he cuts his loss and it's gone. He gets back in, goes back to his setup, waiting for the next deer to show up, show up in the setup. That's what he does. Now you look at that and you go, well, lions are great predators, and they've adapted a different style. They stalk. They also are in an environment where they can use stalking, they can use chasing, they use teamwork, okay, in order to pull down animals. If you took that same lion and put him in the American forest, he'd starve, okay? Here, what I'm asking you to look at is that this cat has evolved to a place where he becomes an ambush predator in a forest, in the same way that you've gone from other places and you've come to trading. And I'm asking you that, do you think it's time for you to adapt your strategy, adapt the way your mind engages uncertainty, probability, for this new game we call trading? That's the big ticket. So fundamentally, so that's a model for what the trading mind needs to look like, okay? If you were motivated and willing to change, how would you go about doing it, though? How would you actually transform this urgent discipline that I want to make things happen, gosh, I don't want to be wrong, into patient discipline of where it is about the performance, it's not about the outcome, okay? That first one is literally being ready and willing to change rather than wanting change to occur your way. And over the course, oh, I'm sorry, please change. Over the course of the last 20 years as a therapist, I've worked extensively with really high-risk populations. And during that time, I came to develop a process for radical change. And I want to share that with you, okay? And what I've discovered is practically everything that I learned, what I thought was, was in the textbook supposed to be right, didn't work very well at all in real practice. And I had to change things. The way I teach, and the way that if you were to become a student of mine or really explore a relationship with me, is very simple. The very first thing is you learn a lot about emotional intelligence. You learn a lot about what in the heck's going on in the brain. and what's going on in your psychology that stops you from performing at the level that you need to be forming. Because the brain's going to stop you. It does not like trading. It is the antithesis of what it was built to do. And your psychology, particularly for those of you who are really into winning or not losing, man, you're just absolutely setting yourself up for slaughter in a game like trading where you don't have control over the outcome, whether or not you win or you lose. You control your performance, okay? First thing is emotional regulation. You have to be able to regulate that emotion so that it doesn't hijack mind, okay? The second thing is you're going to need to produce mindfulness so that you can become an observer of all that crazy stuff running around in your head, like that self-doubt, like that overconfidence that leads to overtrading. You need to observe it, okay? Third is that you need to discover the historical internal dialogue. That's the one that when nobody's around and when you're being very quiet and you don't feel comfortable, or when you're facing something and you hear, oh, you're going to lose, you're going to lose, I can never win, I can never win. You know something, I'm going to make this thing happen. Those conversations that repeat incessantly in the mind. This is the historical internal dialogue, okay? It's not you. It's just simply one organization of a self that evolved, okay? And because of your lack of awareness, you think that's you. The fourth thing is you have to self-develop your inherent empowered skills. We have emotional programs in our brain that can give rise to the emotions needed for probability management. Remember, most of us decided that emotion's the enemy. But what I'm telling you is, no, emotion's not the enemy. You're your own worst enemy. If you learn to use emotions in a very powerful way, you create the mind that engages uncertainty. Or you show up with the mind that evolution gave you. Which do you want? I can tell you the one that evolution and adaptation to your family system is not going to work very well in trading unless you won the genetics lottery. And I don't work with those people, okay? So then fifth, you have to become intentional about the mind that you bring to trading. You just can't show up with any old mind. It has to be a work of art. In the same way that, you know, people in football, again, in tennis, in golf at the high end, you're looking at people who develop a mindset that they go out and play from. They know that they can't control the outcome. However, what they know is they can control the mind that produces performance. And friend, that's the Holy Grail. That's what the great traders know. So let's take a look at these one-on-one, okay? Oh, she did. Boy, she's ahead of me. Dolores is ahead of me. First step, emotional regulation. Basically, you're going to have to manage the survival instinct, okay? Otherwise, it's going to take over your trading mind. It's going to trip to fight, flight in a heartbeat because ultimately, your brain cannot tell the difference between biological threat and psychological discomfort, okay? And emotional regulation, what you would be learning from me is not how to breathe in a yoga studio where you're using diaphragmatic breathing in a very safe, cool place. No, you're going to be learning how to breathe diaphragmatically under the stresses of trading. It takes some work. Usually it takes 2 or 3 weeks of concentrated effort to begin to retrain the way your body and your brain are doing that. If you take a look tomorrow, if you trade tomorrow, watch your body, watch the way you breathe, and you will see it. Until you can regulate that, the tension in your body and the way you breathe, you are just simply throwing gasoline onto the smoldering embers of emotion. You have to start here. You have to be able to manage the emotion so that it doesn't hijack mind. That's the first thing that you're going to do. And why do you have to do this? In this particular image, you're looking at what happens when the instinctual and emotional brain get exposed to risk and probability. Okay? It perceives it as threat. When you are sitting there, and if you have, say, problems with trade entry, and your little finger just freezes on that mouse and you can't pull the trigger. This is basically what's happening to you. This is what your emotional brain is seeing. Oh my God, there's a 1,000-pound saber-toothed tiger with 6-inch, and this one looks like it's about 12-inch, incisor teeth about to absolutely swallow me whole after stabbing me. And of course the body's going to go bananas. Of course it's going to trigger to fight, flight. However, that emotional brain is just simply being exposed to the uncertainty of risk, psychological discomfort. It can't tell the difference, friends. That's what you have to be able to regulate, okay? Most people make trading decisions from reactive emotions. And until you learn to get past that, you stay stuck. That's the first thing. Second thing is mindfulness. What you're looking for in mindfulness is to recognize that mindfulness leads to the ability to step back out and observe, what I would call the observing self, and you start noticing some powerful things. You start noticing that you and your thoughts and you and your beliefs are not the same. You start discovering that ultimately what happens is the confluence of thoughts and beliefs that you have in your brain and in your mind that creates the reality of the trading that you're doing is simply inherited from history. And it was already formed in you before you could think for yourself. And it just, when you started waking up consciously, you just assumed that's the way it was. That was me. No. Your awareness and your thoughts and beliefs are not one and the same. It is just simply one potential organization of a self. And as you learn to observe, you get to be designer of the mind that you're bringing in to manage uncertainty. Powerful stuff, friends. This is not a trick. This is something that you learn how to do, and you start recognizing, oh my God, yeah, I can reorganize the emotional programs and produce a very different mind. Yes, you can. And I can show you how to do that. Ultimately, then, this observer that you're creating is you wake it up and you discover that you've got a mess going on in the committee of your mind. Ultimately, what you discover very quickly is the brain, on a fundamental level, is actually a community of rival emotional programs. And they are both competitive with one another and also cooperative with one another. And they create a self based on circumstance, based on just the circumstances of growing up and who you're attaching to. And that's what organizes you into a particular self. It's one that's built for survival within the system, the ecosystem, usually like your family of origin, your culture, your community that you were born into. It is not built for you to become a successful trader. Two completely different circumstances. And yet, that's what you bring to trading, and that's what, when that brain creates a mind, suddenly it's just not a bunch of rival programs creating this organism. It's now a mind with various forces at a committee at around a table, and they're duking it out for control, like in this image right here. It's the reorganization of this committee through mindfulness that produces the mind that trades effectively. And that is what has to be taught. Because ultimately, it starts out as you have to recognize the internal dialogue. You have to recognize that, my God, there's this internal dialogue, these thought streams coming through my mind all the time. And you know something? I didn't even know it was there. You know, I just thought it was my thoughts running around in there, and I just was ignoring it. Oh, no, 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 no. It's enormously powerful. You know, you're being not able to observe it allows it to work basically like an attack submarine. You're underneath water, you're not aware of it, and suddenly you've been torpedoed. So what happens is this, ultimately, this is where it gets interesting, because in my teaching and the way I teach, as you become an observer, what I'm asking you to do, first thing is I'm going to ask you not to find the good news, but the bad news. And the bad news is what I call the inner critic in the adapted voice, or the orphan. The inner critic, you will know, has anybody in here ever beat themselves up mentally? Of course you have. Everybody. And my question is this: has it ever done any good in your trading? No. It digs the fear deeper. In this image, what you're looking at the inner critic as a judgmental or a critical component, or as a temptation that's going, take it, take it, take it. And then you're looking at this guy in confusion. I don't know. That would be the orphan. This is what's been running your trading mind when put into pressure. It's not secret, but it's your avoidance of this internal struggle that keeps the observer fused to a particular organization of the self that's not doing so well in the management of probability. So you're getting this and you're going, wow, I got this in my head. Yes. Here's the good news, though, is you inherited these self-limiting beliefs. And by the way, they're easy. Ultimately, what you can discover is that your trading woes are all about you projecting a sense of not being good enough, of not being worthy, of not mattering, or being powerless onto the markets. And what happens is the markets are showing you that face. They're just showing you the underlying belief that's within you. That's within you. Hold on a second here. It's your job to dig those beliefs out instead of shying away from them. And then what you're doing is you're recognizing that, I don't have to be stuck in those beliefs. They are not me. They're just an organization of a potential self. And step 4 is when you start awakening the empowered emotional programs. Okay, they literally, you never will have freedom from emotion. That's where the emotion's the enemy, and you just don't want to have emotion. Well, the only time you don't have emotions is when you're dead. Okay? And what we want is for you to become master of those emotions. We want you to have freedom of emotion. The truth is, the challenges of trading, the uncertainties of trading, the struggles of trading are going to be ever present. What matters is what mind you're bringing into that moment. Okay? And here's what I want to teach you how to do. Okay? In the same way that fear is a resonant program, member of the committee of the mind, and the same way that criticism, self-doubt is in your mind, or that overconfidence thing where you're hearing, oh, you can do it, do. That's just the inner critic. These are two streams of thought. These are two emotional programs among many. It's just that those are the ones that got organized, and those are the ones that are triggered because they're so associated with uncertainty and being exposed to uncertainty and the fight-flight process, okay? However, in the same way that you have those programs, you also have the courage of a warrior living within you to turn toward your fears and have the courage to master them rather than try to conquer them. You also have the discipline of a ruler. You have the capacity in you to maintain order under pressure. And in my work, I use memory restructuring, memory enrichment to get at these and for you to feel these emotional programs, and you create a mind from those emotional programs. You also have the self-compassion, the self-soothing of a caregiver. Until you learn to have compassion for your suffering, for your struggles, and to calm that fear down, you never get to organize the power that's within you. And when you do finally calm that fear down, call forward your courage and pull forward your discipline, you discover there's an impartiality, a clear thinking of a sage living within you as an emotional program. The deal is you can learn how to operate these emotional programs or archetypes and have them fire when you're exposed to uncertainty rather than fight-flight. You bring an intentional mind into the moment. You just don't use the mind that you got stuck with, okay? So now we have the ability of producing the intentional mind. You decide what emotions will show up to create the mind that engages uncertainty. Do you want it to be the historical mind that you got right now that's triggering all the stuff in your trading? Or do you want an empowered mind that's intentionally built for managing probability? Okay? You have different beliefs. You begin to restructure those beliefs and you build a new crew within the self to be able to manage that. Completely different. And ultimately, what you discover is that by developing these aspects of the self and turning toward the fears, what you do is you learn how to master the demons of fear, sabotage, and impulse. Okay? You're no longer scared of being scared. This inner struggle is never going to stop. The difference is self-doubt is confronted, and you start bringing apart the inner critic. You start calming that orphan nature of yours, and you find the discipline, you find the courage and the impartiality and the self-soothing to create the mind that's patient and disciplined in the face of uncertainty. That, friends, is emotional intelligence, and it can be taught. That's theory in action. And you know, ultimately, you literally have to intentionally build the committee of the mind for managing uncertainty. If you've looked at your trading and you're not satisfied with it, okay, and you know that you have the knowledge, you have all the toys, and you recognize that, you know something, this really is about developing my psychology of performance to be able to use the tools that I currently have, okay? So you've gotten there and you go, okay, I can create this mind myself. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can create the mind that lets go of the illusion of control over outcome and embraces the ability to manage the mind that engages the uncertainty. And friends, that's the edge that you've been seeking. So how do you go about this? You know, how do you go about shifting this thing and beginning to develop the intelligence? First of all, you know, I have a pathway here. First of all, if you've never really just heard of me, going, wow, this guy sounds, this is really interesting. He's really speaking to something. The first thing I would encourage you to do is go to my website and get the free ebook. Okay, just get it and say, you know something, I'm going to start reading more about this guy. And look at the videos there. I have a number of videos sitting on my homepage. You can find numerous articles. And what I would encourage you to do after that is get my book, Mindful Trading, Mastering Your Emotions in the Inner Game. It lays out the theory I use, and it will show you what education with me will do. It's going to put that theory into action. If you're more serious, ask for a free consult. You go to the website, you hit contact us, and Dolores will find a time for us to meet. This is if you're serious and you realize that this is what's standing between you, okay, and the success you know is possible. The last thing, if you're just kind of kicking tires and you just don't know, and I haven't lost enough money yet, and I really don't want to acknowledge this, read my book, read the articles, and if you're going there, there's a powerful group course that I have that we offer that is, I ask you to go to the website and take a look at it, okay? In the same way that the individual course, the major thing about the individual course, what it is so different about it than the group course, is that it's 3 or 4 months long and it's one-on-one with me. Okay, it's tailored for your needs. It's very comprehensive. It is tremendous depth. And if you're serious about becoming a real trader, I would encourage that. Okay, so here we are. What I want to do is I want to thank you for coming. And what I want you to do is ask yourself, what have I learned here? What I ask you to take a look at, what have you learned about your brain, emotion, and mind, how they are together as one. What I hope you've also learned is how important it is to name your fear and really come to the moment of being able to isolate the voice of that fear rather than run from it and hide from it and avoid it. And so if you're there and if you're going, I need to really check this out, there's lots of good stuff on the website. Go there. And then also get that free consult. So how do you become the change? Well, we encourage this, is that most people ultimately, once they go through all the stuff, there's lots and lots of free stuff. There's lots of inexpensive stuff that people peck around and start with and say, let me just get to know this guy. Go to the web and do that. Go to the website and do that. However, ultimately, there are two different ways of putting that theory into action and making the change. Is that there's the individual course, and this is for serious people who are really serious. And ultimately, at its core, is it's 10 one-on-one personal consults with me via Skype. And it has a very comprehensive multimedia package that comes with it. It's big time, and you own that. Okay, it is powerful, and it gets into the very nitty-gritty and how to put that theory into action to become the intentional self. The group course covers the basic materials, but it's done in a group setting, and you go to a virtual classroom to learn from all the materials, the MP3s, the MP4s, all the documents and stuff like that. And class coming up in September. We're currently in the summer class right now, and in September we'll be starting that up. For those people who are just not so sure, or they're sitting there going, you know something, my pocketbook's really important, this is a very good course. It was built because of trainers telling me, Randy, a lot of my traders can't afford this. I need to have a more cost-effective method. So I have a huge head start. And when they get there, they get to get into the process that I teach. But they really get a lot of the stuff done before then. I want to thank all of you for being here. And if you have questions, please write them in. I'll take the time to answer a number of them. And the major thing is I really want you to answer this question. You know, if you were in a place, if you had the capacity of being able to create an intentional mind that really was the one that you needed to work with probability, would you be willing to do it? This is a time, this is a place that this is possible, and it's here. It's now. So are there any questions? Not so far. Okay. There's a question about cost. The individual course costs $3,500, and it's 3 to 4 months, or it can be broken into payments of $1,200 per month over 3 months, and that allows you to spread the cost over 3 months rather than all at one time. The group course is $1,195 and can be broken down into 5 payments of like $239 a piece. Okay, and again, what we're doing is we're trying to make that accessible for you. Hi, Randy. Can you send us the recording? Of course we can. What happens is
they get an email with the link. They'll get it in the morning.
Okay, and tomorrow morning you're going to get an email with the link to it. And what'll happen? All you have to do is hit that link, and you'll be taken to the recording of this, and you'll be able to watch it. You'll have it tomorrow morning. Okay, the link. And so that means you can review this stuff tomorrow morning. So, are there any other questions? Thank you. Let's see it. Thank you. Which do you recommend, individual, group? That really depends. If it really depends on your level of seriousness, and it also depends on what you can afford. If all things are equal, go with the individual course. It is enormously comprehensive, and the problem with the group course is that it gets at the orphan nature, it gets at the fear-based stuff, but it doesn't have me as a mentor through that area, and that is a big deal. Okay, to have a mentor, a coach who can coach you through that. A lot of people will look at me and say, Randy, this is really a no-brainer. What happens is that with the individual course, I get you. And with the group course, I get to talk to you every 2 weeks for a little bit. But the truth is what I'm really buying is you. That was said to me, and I will share that with you. I like what you were saying. It all makes a lot of sense. Yes, it does. And I don't know why other people make this thing so difficult. This is literally, you know, a number of years ago, I was a cognitive behavioral therapist, and I really believed all that stuff, okay? And then I went to a 4-day seminar with one of the founders of emotional intelligence. And I remember walking out of that workshop, and I came back home and I sat down with my wife and I said, Dolores, I don't know what I am now, but I know that I'm not a cognitive behavioral therapist anymore. And ultimately, I began to really, truly, and I also I have a science background, so a lot of this stuff is just, you know, I read this for pleasure, okay? But I came to a moment of where I realized that you cannot separate biology, brain, emotion, and mind, and that we are a lot of us. We are our emotional brain we share with other social mammalians, my dog, for instance, and it is animal in nature, and it has to be learned to be dealt with for you to become fully human, for you to be able to develop the potential of what human beings have been gifted with. And in that, it does make a lot of sense. And what most people talk about when they look at this work and they talk about this work is, Randy, what I really like about you mechanically have put together a process that goes from one step, integrates it into the next step, integrates it into the next step, into the next step in a very logical way. And it is, because ultimately what you discover is this process that I teach. It starts with emotional regulation. It goes to mindfulness. It goes to historical internal dialogue. It goes to the empowered self. It goes to intentionality. There's this process that you go through, and you learn how, and the exercises I use truly wake this stuff up in you. And it allows you, if you want to redevelop the mind for probability-based thinking. A lot of people really don't want to change, and they talk about change like they talk about trader psychology. You know, I'm on a lot of programs that we talk trader psychology, but the thing is very few people do trader psychology. That's really getting down in the dirt and getting dirty, and you get in and you go, you know, ultimately this is about the heritage of me as a social mammalian and survival instinct, and me as a psychological being that has been gifted with the ability of reorganizing this material. And a lot of times you may not need it, but in trading, you're going to have to reorganize the priorities, the modus operandi of the brain. You're going to have to do that if you're going to be a successful trader. There's no way around it. And this is a very powerful way of being able to do that. So I really thank you for that comment. And at any rate, are there any other questions? Yeah, there's a payment plan for both the individual course and for the group course. You know, we found that that's something that makes it a lot more reachable for people. And the truth is that part of this for me is that I want to be able to reach you. I want to be able to teach you how to do this, so that what you're going to discover is that, yeah, this stuff can be applied to trading, and it really does. You apply it, and you start realizing that, man, my trader psychology and my methodology and my platform are working cohesively together, and it does change that. It also changes the rest of your life too. Most people discover that they got a lot more than they bargained for. They find that their relationships are better, the relationship with themselves is better, their golf games are better, their tennis games are better, all sorts of things like that. Okay. My native language is not English, but understand it and speak also. Does it matter? No. I work with, the guy that I'm working with right now is Italian, and what I would call a heavy accent. I imagine he would call I imagine he would say that I have a heavy Southern accent and him trying to understand my English. But the thing is that I work with people in all sorts of different, all over the world. Okay. And I work with people that are from the Middle East and they speak from there. The English is their second language, from Europe.
I'm sitting here wondering why my Euro USD alert didn't go off and a signal came to enter for it. Unless my alert was literally just a few pips below. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's not a valid signal anyway. Okay, gonna go ahead and review the charts real quick. I replaced pound dollar with Euro USD on my active trading list. It's the prime setup. I didn't note that in the blog post. I can go down to the comments and do that. Now I will start like for the blog post, I will change some things. Number one, I want to be more personal with it as far as like my actual progression as a trader on there. But I wouldn't be doing that weekly. I'd be doing that monthly. So that's a major thing that I'm going to be changing with that. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. And then also the 25 list is only going to be exclusive for subscribers or people that like support the Buy Me a Coffee section or what's it called, website. Where is the live stream? It's right there. Okay. All right, so we're good. So waiting for a buying opportunity on Euro USD. It's like a perfect setup. It's a dream come true right there. And it's a 12, 13 to 1 possibly if it plays out like that, which would be amazing. AUD USD still looking for it to scale down. Euro JPY has nearly hit targets. Let's set an alert there so I can log it. Okay, now let's go to gold US30 and close out the call. Oh no, we have there is one pair that we've been tracking that's been whatchamacallit, requested. That's what you call it. It's been requested several times. DakotaJPayne. Well, okay, so gold respected the trend line, didn't drop below it, and looks like we're not getting that buying opportunity. No worries. We'll just continue to manage those positions. That's pretty much it. Nothing to do here. For me at least. US30. Question. Okay, 2 to 1 opportunity buy off of, what was it, 3RU? Yeah, it was the 3RU, and looking for a high to be reached. Yeah, just going to wait for the day. I'll check it again tomorrow, or probably tonight. Yeah, I'll check it again tonight. Okay, CAD-JPY. It was requested, I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago, something like that. And said look for it to visit this high again and then look for a sell. That's pretty much what happened. That's exactly what happened. And yep, Would love for it to reach this low here, but we have to see how price reacts to this level first. Other than that, should be good. That is the wrong thing. Jeez. All right, let's find CAD-JPY. This is pretty recent. Oh, also Bitcoin. That's a shame. I almost missed Bitcoin. Okay, so we have two. Okay, this was the first time around. Trend line broke. Came to that level, didn't completely test it, or my fault. That's not what I meant to say. After the break, I was looking for a correction to this level. Price came here and broke through that level and came back up to here to the top. And if we check last week's, this is August 5th. Yeah, so it'll be last week's weekly review, not weekly review, but weekly forecast. Looking for a sell here at this level. I'm looking for price to scale down. Let's just reply to this full message here. All right, and that is it. Really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys enjoyed